Okay, so for anyone not in our tribe, I'm Janet Gorond, I'm the founder of World Without Wine, and this morning I'm going to talk about the science behind alcohol dependency. I'm going to talk about how a couple of decades of drinking alcohol will actually rewire your brain. And on a more optimistic note, I will touch on how you can change that. So I've been covering this subject in our workshops for years now, but recently I read an article by a guy called M Middleton, don't forget the M. Ken really summarised this whole subject, and he just wrote so beautifully and so clearly that, well, first of all, obviously I shared it on social media and lots of people seem to like it, so I thought, well, why don't I pull out some of his key points and cover them in Facebook Live this morning. And I have managed to connect with Ken via LinkedIn. He seems to be in Georgia in the US, and he's agreed to a podcast interview, so I'm quite excited about that because we'll be able to unpack that further. So I'll keep you posted about that. And talking of podcasts, I hope you've all listened to the fabulous Lucy this morning. So yeah, so let's go back to our drinking. In our 20s and our 30s, you know, us ladies, we tend to be drinking our wine, really enjoying it. We're developing our careers, we're doing the mommy thing, and it's everywhere. All our friends are drinking, it's completely normalised. We don't even think twice about it. I certainly didn't. And then we get to our 40s or even our 50s in my case. I was a bit of a late developer. And then you start noticing there's articles about actually that alcohol doesn't seem to be that good for you. Surprise, surprise. Alcohol brings many threats to our health, including breast cancer, which I had. And we start maybe questioning our habits, and then we might be unfortunate or fortunate enough to stumble upon the guidelines, which say that if you drink more than 1.5 bottles of wine a week, then you are very probably putting your health at risk. So that's a bit of a wake-up call for many people. So the next thing that happens to us is we think, wow, okay, I better cut down a bit, you know, here. We think, well, you know, I can't possibly stop because I enjoy my wine too much and I appreciate good wine, and what would life be like without wine? So we decide that we're going to cut down. And surprise, surprise, it's really, really difficult to cut down. Certainly for me, I spent 10 years trying to cut down, or moderate as we call it. And we talk about moderation, but what we really mean is controlling, don't we? So I tried to control my drinking for 10 years, and I failed and failed over and over again until I finally accepted that I would have to ditch the stuff completely because my brain had been totally rewired, and I'm going to explain to you how that happens. But first of all, the harsh truth that we all need to accept is that if we've been drinking consistently for about 20 years, and you know, that sounds a long time, but you start drinking at 20 and by the time you're 40, you've done 20 years of drinking. So if we drink consistently for that period, then it's almost guaranteed that you'll have a problem with alcohol, and then it's up to you to kind of deal with it and make sure it doesn't get worse. So let's take a look at the science. Forgive me looking at my notes a little bit, but it is quite complicated, so I don't want to get it wrong. The first thing that you need to understand is that when we drink, we get this endorphin spike, and we love that, and that's called the buzz. But sadly, our brains are rather more, or rather fortunately, should I say, our brains are a bit more sensible. So our brain, it's the job of our brain to keep everything in balance, you know, to maintain homeostasis is the proper word for it. So what our brain does is it releases a hormone called Dimorphine, and that Dimorphine will dampen down that spike. It'll kind of level it out, which is why, you know, we have the nice buzz, and but it only lasts for about 20 minutes or so, and then we, you know, just feel kind of normal again. So we think, oh, let's go get some more drinks, I want more of that buzz. So we have more drinks, and then our brain chucks more Dimorphine on it, and then we get more drinks, and then our brain has to get more of this hormone, and so it goes on. Sorry, there was just something. Yeah. The other point I wanted to make there was that is why over the years we actually need more alcohol to get the same effect because of the dimorphin. So I wanted now to look at those three things that happen in your brain. So three things, progressive. The first thing, I've talked about the alcohol causing the endorphin spike, but it also gives you a dopamine hit, which is another kind of nice thing. And of course, we all know that dopamine is what we call the feel-good hormone. But what you may not know about dopamine is that it's also, scientists are now calling it the learning molecule, because dopamine associates our drinking, our nice hits, with whatever happens to be going around it. It makes associations, in other words. So let me give you an example. Say you're a regular patron at a nice bar with your sober buddies, as if with your drinking buddies in there, and they play nice music, and you go there often. So your dopamine will learn that this, area is all about feeling good, and it will create what we know as triggers. So triggers, we all know what triggers are. We still have them. Those of us that have given up, they gradually fade away, but it takes quite a long time. So we all know, sometimes you get home from work and you think, oh, and now I need a drink, because you've been triggered. So that's the first thing that happens. Triggers are created. The second thing that happens, which is rather more serious, is that your brain starts preempting those triggers. Your brain is obviously so sophisticated and it just wants to keep you safe. So rather than waiting until you get into your bar and you're drinking, even when you're walking down the road to the bar, your brain thinks, okay, she's going to have a drink, we've got this spike coming, let's make a provision for that. Let's release some dimorphin and then she'll be even safer. But the problem with this is the dimorphin will make you feel low because you haven't yet had the spike. So you'll then feel, rather than going to the bar because you want to go to the bar, you'll actually really need that drink and say, oh, I wasn't going to, but I'll have to pop in because I'm really feeling like I need a pick-me-up. And indeed you do, because the dimorphin's brought you a little bit low. So that's why we kind of move from liking alcohol to wanting alcohol and then to needing alcohol. It's actually a physiological need, it's not just a psychological thing. Which brings me to the third thing, which is the most dangerous and the saddest thing, really. I know, I'm certainly there. And it's dangerous because when we get to a certain stage, our bodies actually stop creating dopamine. Because our dopamine receptors, they just get really lazy. They think, oh, well, she's going to be, drinking her wine tonight. I'm not needed to, make her feel good, so I'm just going to clock off for a while. So what happens? What is the result of not having any dopamine in your system? Well, in a sentence, it means you can't enjoy your life, because those everyday pleasures, that make life worth living, we like chatting to the kids, going for a walk, playing with the dog, reading our book, blah, blah, blah. But they all fall a bit flat, they don't quite hit the spot because the dopamine isn't being produced. So what happens is our world kind of shrinks. All that we're interested in is drinking alcohol because it gives us that nice artificial spike. And of course the tragedy is, if you continue down this road, then you will even need alcohol just to feel normal, because that's, how things progress. So let me try and summarize that. These three things. So first of all, your brain creates triggers. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. But then your brain starts preempting these triggers and it starts chucking this dimorphin all around, which will make you feel low if you don't drink. And then the next stage is your body stops making dopamine. And that's sad, because you're completely flat unless you're drinking. And that's why, people in early sobriety often feel flat and rather depressed. And sadly, this can go on for months. It did with me. I remember I wrote this analogy once. You know how you go to the dentist and you're all kind of frozen, and then gradually your kind of mouth will thaw out. Well, I felt like my brain had been completely anaesthetized, and gradually over the months I could feel it's thawing out. My creativity seemed to come back, and I started to feel good again. The dopamine was coming back, but it took a while. So that process is why you can feel flat and depressed in your early sobriety, even though you should be really pleased with yourself, because what you've done an amazing thing, and indeed you are intellectually pleased with yourself, but somehow you're not feeling as good as you think you would. And my only advice is just hang in there, and it makes it so worthwhile. Don't go back and think, oh, I need to do my drinking. It's the only thing I enjoy. Because indeed it was, towards the end of your drinking, the only thing you enjoyed. But if you can just ditch the stuff for long enough, you will enjoy your whole life again, and life will improve immeasurably. So that's why people in early sobriety feel a bit flat, and that's why you need to periodically take a break to test your dependence, because we're all different. Some people might get dependent very quickly. Their brain might be rewired in 5 years. Other people, it might take 20. I think in my case it took probably 30 years, but I was definitely there. Some lucky people, they might not get there at all. But what you need to do is keep checking. Think of it as going to the doctor for a medical checkup. Every 6 months, stop drinking for a while and check your dependency. And if you don't even miss it, if you're still enjoying your life, then obviously everything's cool. But if it's tough, then that's giving you a message that you need to take some changes. So that's why you should also look at our social Sober Spring Challenge. Obviously, that's bringing me nicely to a little mention of that. We've already got one running, and it's the people on there are having an awesome time. So we have got a second challenge that starts on the 21st of September. So if you're not yet signed up, then please think about it. What it is 66 alcohol-free days with audio, online, and most importantly of all, community support. And it's great fun. Even if you think, oh well, I'm not dependent, then do it anyway. Alcohol is so toxic. Just taking a 66-day break will do wonders for your health. So I think I'm going to shut up now. That's nearly 15 minutes I've been nattering on. So let me see if anybody's still there, or have you all deserted me? Yeah, there's plenty of people there. So I said hello to Canada. Hi, Carlin. Oh, Luna, you wouldn't miss it. Alison Taylor, I'm a late developer as well. Yes, Alison. Claire Armstrong. Hi, Claire. Yes, yeah, it is, isn't it? It's fascinating. You get this empty feeling and you just don't enjoy your life, and it's just tragic. And when you get this stuff, I mean, it takes a while to really understand it, but it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And the exciting thing is that just as we've rewired our brains over the years of doing this drinking stuff, we can unwire them, if that's a verb. But we can use the challenge, something like the challenge, to rewire them, but in a positive way. Dopamine clocking off, yeah, makes so much sense. Felt flat for months. Now that my dopamine is back, I don't want to mess with it ever again. Absolutely, Lynette. Let's let our dopamine do its thing. Oh, hi, Julia. Julia, who didn't write The Artist's Way. I'm sorry. That'll be my way of remembering you forever now. Alison, you're going to take our challenge. Fantastic. Just go to, I didn't even say, did I? Go to wellwithoutwine.com and you'll see Sober Spring Challenge. Just click on the homepage and you'll get there. Fascinating talk. Thank you. Oh, okay. So thanks, guys. That was really kind of you to tune in. So I'm going to leave this video on for a while, and hopefully some more people will see it. So have a fabulous day. I hope you all heard Lucy's podcast, which is just beautiful. I said to her this morning that that her interview is full of warmth and wisdom, exactly like she is. And I think that's so true. So I'm looking forward to seeing Lucy at our Zoom cafe at 2:30 this afternoon, and I hope some of the rest of you will come too. Okay, I'm off now, guys. I need a coffee. Bye.